Hello and welcome back to Hyperplay. A bevy of beautiful handheld emulation 6 inches are on their way and we have the pricing for all of them. So let's rank which ones are the best. In our opinion, not having actually gone hands-on with any of them, but from everything we know, we can now say that in 5th place, the KONKR Pocket Fit Elite. Sporting, yes, you guessed it, the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor. Coming in at $269 for the 8GB version. Now we're going to give you, as we go through the video, the 8GB version or the lowest price version and also the 12GB version prices, because we think the 12GB is the sweet spot for all of these options. But you can't really argue with $269 for a Snapdragon 8 Elite emulation console. Yes, it's only going to have an LCD screen, but with a 144Hz refresh panel. So why is the KONKR Pocket Fit Elite languishing down at 5th place on our list of these new 6 inches? Well, for a few reasons. It is just an LCD screen, and we always prefer OLED. The Snapdragon 8 Elite doesn't have great driver support yet, although it will get there in due course, we're sure, because it's such a flagship chipset from Qualcomm. And the third reason why the KONKR Pocket Fit Elite is down at 5th place on our list is because it's coming from Ayaneo, and they are known for not having the greatest build quality, certainly not built to last. Their products will often crap out after a couple of years. Something that can't be said for the manufacturers of our next device. Yes, AYN are releasing the Odin 3, and that is going to be $30 more on pretty much every level compared to the KONKR Pocket Fit Elite. So $299 for the super early bird 8GB model, and then $369 for the 12GB model. And we do recommend the 12GB model if you're at all interested in high-end gaming, particularly if you're going to get involved with Winlater and GameHub. Certainly we have headbutted against the top level of the 8GB of RAM quite a few times when Winlatering on our Retroid Pocket 5. And if you're going to have a powerful processor inside your device, like the Odin 3 does, again, the Snapdragon 8 Elite, then you're going to want to have plenty of RAM to throw at those hard to emulate games so that your chipset can truly power through. So the Odin 3, same processor as the KONKR Pocket Fit Elite with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, same size, 6 inches, but $30 more with regard to the 8GB SKU and the 12GB Model 2 than the KONKR Pocket Fit Elite. So why does it place higher on the list? It places higher on the list because we think $30 is a good value proposition to pay for a little bit more to get the OLED screen and to also get the reassurance that you're buying from AYN, whose products tend to be far more reliable than Ayaneo's. So that is why the Odin 3, albeit not our favourite forthcoming 6-incher, is at number 4 on our list. And we can't mention the Odin 3 without mentioning our favourite ever console. The Retroid Pocket 5 can be had for as little as $180 now. See our link in the description. And at 5.5 inches, the RP5 has a similar sized display to all of the other consoles on this list, and it is OLED, unlike the Ayaneo offerings. That said, the RP5 is great with a grip and surprisingly excellent at Winlater and GameHub. You can play some truly phenomenal PC games on it, despite it only having a Snapdragon 865 chip, so do check out our video if you want to know more about how to play AAA games like Metaphor ReFantasio and Final Fantasy VII Remake on your Retroid Pocket 5 natively through GameHub and Winlater. And our point here, and the reason for including the Retroid Pocket 5 on this list, is that you don't have to splurge megabucks to get a superb quality console OLED screen experience. And talking about not splurging megabucks, we have the AYN Thor coming in at number 2 on our list. A superb 6-inch and 4-inch dual screen option. $249 for your Snapdragon 865 offering, jumping to $349 for our preferred 12GB SKU, which will have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. And at this stage you need to ask yourself, do you actually need anything more than a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2? Well, maybe. We'll get onto number 1 place very soon, but certainly plenty of compatibility here. You won't have to worry about the AYN Thor being able to play a huge swathe of your favourite games all the way up to Switch, Winlater and GameHub if you get the 12GB RAM version. And for many people this will be the destination endgame console, dual screen and can do everything, and absolutely knocks the Ayaneo Pocket DS into touch. I mean, the Ayaneo Pocket DS just looks like an overpriced tacky toy with a very breakable hinge in comparison to the mighty AYN Thor. But the clamshell form factor isn't for everyone, and maybe you are looking for something with a bit more oomph than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, but with good emulator compatibility. Well, enter the KONKR Pocket Fit G3 Gen 3 option. Now this is a staggeringly performant chip that actually does have good emulation compatibility, because we know this, it's already been seen in the Ayaneo Pocket S2, a massively overpriced machine, but that did also feature the G3 Gen 3, essentially a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 that's been optimized for gaming, and does perform very well. You'll find that 95% of the GameCube catalogue can be upscaled to a ridiculous amount, and PS2 works incredibly well, and it will also crush Winlater at the higher RAM offerings. And this is what Russ had to say about Winlater on the G3 Gen 3 on the Ayaneo Pocket S2.
I tried a couple heavy hitters like BioShock 2 Remastered and Prince of Persia from 2008. These played really well. So if you are the type of person who is looking to jump into this whole idea of Windows gaming on an Android device, this might be a pretty good option right here.
Such power and performance is all well and good, but do remember our earlier qualms about the KONKR Pocket Fit Elite, because a couple of the same misgivings still apply. This is still the same 6-inch, albeit 144Hz refresh rate screen, and it is also Ayaneo, and a budget Ayaneo offering at that, and can their products truly be trusted to be reliable across a number of years? Well, we're willing to take a punt, but only if the price is right, and we said in our original preview video that the price would need to be between the Retroid Pocket 5 and the Odin Portal. Let's have a listen to what I said. What about the price? Yes, this is supposed to be budget friendly, but if it's sporting a G3 Gen 3 chipset, and with Ayaneo's previous reputation of being ultra premium, let's say, when it comes to their overpricing, then we are concerned about where the price for the admittedly delightful looking Pocket Fit will land. It needs to come in at $250 or less. And has it? It most certainly has. For 1 week only, you can get the KONKR Pocket Fit for $239. Admittedly, that's the base 8GB model. We are more inclined towards the 12GB $299 option, if only RAM weren't so expensive these days, with demand massively outstripping supply. But be that as it may, $299 for a Snapdragon G3 Gen 3 12GB RAM behemoth of an emulation device is very, very tempting indeed, and particularly if you don't have something like a Retroid Pocket 5 already, then this would definitely warrant consideration, possibly the first device that could truly lay a claim to the Retroid Pocket 5's crown at this price point for an 8GB $239 effort. Very tempting indeed, and it's for that reason that we hold our hands up and say we didn't believe they could do it, but Ayaneo have done it. They have brought the KONKR Pocket Fit G3 Gen 3 version in for under $250, and yeah, that makes us very tempted indeed. We would go for that Snapdragon yellow version in a flash if we had a spare $300 lying around. I think they just call it Dragon Yellow, but let's call it Snapdragon Yellow for obvious reasons. So well done Ayaneo. They even put out a message thanking their fans and saying, please understand it's very difficult being a young upcoming company. Thank you for sticking with us and understanding, presumably in brackets, our massively outrageous prices. And yet, what about the Odin Portal? Because at $329 for the base version, $399 for the Pro model with the 12 gigs that we're all after, that's still an interesting proposition because you've got the bigger screen at 7 inches. It is also OLED, and that puts it on a par in terms of price with the 16 gigs of RAM versions of many of these devices. So, do you want a bigger screen with less RAM for the same price as an Odin 3 with a smaller screen but more RAM? And same goes for the KONKR Pocket Elite. It is all for you to decide. If, for instance, the 12GB version of the Odin Portal got a $100 discount and came in at $299, we jump on that in a flash because we want the bigger screen. But your 6-inch options are many and varied. Which one will you go for? Please let us know. If this has been at all helpful, please do leave a like and please do subscribe for much more emulation console goodness coming soon from Hyperplay. Many thanks, take care, and happy handheld gaming with whichever 6-incher you choose. Take care, goodbye.